May I be a clear channel. May I trust what I know. May I trust myself to bring through what I know. And may I trust that this is going to come through exactly the way that it's meant to. And so it is. Hello, I have been wanting to record this video for over a month. In it, I want to discuss my self-mastery course, How to Know Yourself by Heart. I'm 3 episodes in. It's this free online course that I've been putting out episodes here on YouTube. And yeah, I've learned a lot in the creation of those first 3 episodes. And I want to talk about what I learned, how I need to pivot and do things differently moving forward in a way that feels more true to who I actually am, and also approach it in a way that feels more sustainable for me and like what my life is like right now. And yeah, also obviously share my story and like how I've communicated at different periods of my life and like the light and shadow, like wound aspects of those different seasons of my life and communication styles and like lessons in communicating that I've gone throughout my life, and how that's all really informed how I've communicated during these different periods of my life, but also in the current season that I'm in, all of that is being asked to be integrated in a way that I'm not denying or pushing aside any of these very essential parts of like my unique transmission and how I'm here to communicate, and like welcoming all of it into the space. And so it's very messy and it feels very messy. And even right now, as I'm like recording this, I have my notes and my outline over here that I may look at from time to time. I'm really going to do my best to try not to like edit this too much. And so yeah, let's get into it. First and foremost, I just want to say, like, you'll hear me talk about astrology a lot. I'm no expert in astrology by any means, but learning my astrology has really helped validate how I've always known myself to be and a lot of the experiences of my life. And so I do reference it a lot. So I'm a Pisces sun. My Mercury is also in Pisces, which is like Mercury is the planet of communication. My sun, your sun is like, it's like your authentic expression in the world, right? So with both of these planets in Pisces, I've always really communicated as like very poetically and very artistically, very intuitively, metaphorically. I feel life. I communicate. I understand life, and I communicate about life just through feeling, through felt sense. And for a lot of my life, especially in my school years, that's how I understand life. If I didn't say that already, for when I was in my school years, I felt stupid. The only classes that I ever attended in high school, which that is another story for another time. I didn't technically graduate. I got a diploma. But I homeschooled myself later because I just couldn't like cut it in high school. There was a lot going on and I wasn't into it. The only classes I ever went to were creative writing, English, and dance class. And I got like A's in all of those, and I like failed everything else. I laugh because it's many years later, and obviously like it's not funny to fail at school, but it just really speaks to me, like what my life has been like in regards to school. But in any case, I never felt like I could cut it in those classes. I also didn't agree with a lot of stuff that I was being taught, but it just, I always felt kind of stupid. Like, you know what I mean? Like the internet wasn't what it is today. There was no social media. There wasn't, what you were exposed to in your immediate environment, like that was what you knew. Obviously, you could read things in books, and, the internet was just getting started. It was like AOL and stuff like that. But I didn't realize that I just had a different learning style, a different communication style that was unique to me. That's actually very common. It's like the artist type. It's very like creatively inclined, right? And that that's okay, and that there's not this one size fits all sort of a way of learning and expressing yourself and moving through life. But the what I was being told, and like how I was seeing myself reflected back to myself through school, through society, at home. Not as much at home. I think my mom was very encouraging of me to like be who I was. But it just was that I just didn't feel, yeah, I just didn't feel smart, point blank. And so I was always very artistically inclined, and I expressed myself through songwriting, through poetry, all of that. And that felt very natural to me. And as I got older and like was really coming into my own, I leaned on that more heavily. And I didn't really overthink that because I was kind of didn't really have a lot of direction in life at that point. And I guess, which is pretty normal in your 20s. Or maybe it's not. I don't know. I feel like for some people it's normal. For some people it's not. For some people they're like getting their stuff together pretty young. But yeah, I was performing my music. I was just really processing my life through my creations, whether that be through poetry, through writing, through songs, through paintings, whatever it was. And so, and that really worked for me for a long time. And then this shift happened in my 30s, where I had been living in South America for a few years, really going through some like deep healing on all levels, deep physical, emotional, mental, spiritual healing. And I came back to the States and was sort of like reemerging into society, and very quickly life started inviting me into these opportunities to really get grounded in the 3D, to get really great at planning, strategizing, like having like a calendar, and like, even leading meetings and running my own business. I became a freelancer in design, which I mention from time to time. And I'm actually going to share another big video and realization I've had about all that very soon. And that was really hard for me because it just wasn't my natural way of moving through the world. So it was a huge learning experience for me. And I suffered a lot because I was like, what am I doing? I have no idea what I'm doing. I was like floundering. There's so much I could share about all of this. But what I'll say, the most important thing to really share about this is that it was such an important like period of my life to really discover in myself that I am capable of doing that I am capable of planning well, of strategizing, of leading meetings, stepping into greater levels of leadership, and even developing my expertise so much so that I could be somewhat of an authority in the spaces that I was invited into. And that was really, that was like very healing for the inner child part of me that always kind of felt kind of dumb, to be honest. And so given all of that, I was still like, we are who we are, I think, in our essential nature. So of course I still remained artistic and creative and intuitive. And I did bring a lot of that into the work that I was doing as much as I could. But it definitely was, I definitely was more in my masculine for the last decade throughout my 30s. And so I was very in my feminine in my earlier part of my life in my 20s. And then I was very in my masculine in my 30s, very like extreme kind of situation. Now I'm in my 40s. I turned 41 this year. I've been entering this threshold slowly but surely, but it's like there's this next season of my life is really calling from me to become really integrated in both of these aspects of myself that I've spent a fair amount of time really delving deeply into, learning a lot, growing a lot, stretching a lot, and bringing it all together in like a more holistic way that feels true to me. So the reason why I preface with this story is because with my self-mastery course on YouTube, the first 3 episodes that I have on here, they were scripted, very well planned out, like to the T, presentation slides, edited. I mean, the planning and the strategizing that went into those was like next level and very time consuming. If you've created content like that before yourself, then you know, like it's extremely time consuming. And I'm a one-woman show. I don't have a team of people helping me, so I was doing every part of that. The planning, the practicing, the delivery, obviously, the editing, the post-production, the slide creation, everything, right? The promoting on my different social channels and whatnot. There's a lot of work. And I just moved cross country from Phoenix to Boston a month and a half ago. And getting settled here has been a whole journey in and of itself. So there's a lot of big changes happening. I've been doing my best to keep up with it, but I realized this isn't sustainable for me to keep approaching it this way. But most importantly, what I noticed is that I wasn't enjoying it. After the 3rd episode was so hard for me to finish and get it out there. I was struggling so hardcore because I was like, this doesn't feel like me. I feel like I'm trying to be who others think that I should be, or who there was a wounded inner child part of me that was like, I have to make sure that I'm understood. I have to make sure this is clear. Otherwise people won't get it. Otherwise I have to present myself in this way. Otherwise people won't take me seriously. They won't think I'm an authority on this. All the, right? The mean things that the inner critic says to try to ultimately keep us safe and protect us from the pain of failure. But is ultimately holding you back from, what maybe admitting to yourself and honoring what you're really feeling inside, which for me was that, yes, I love how more grounded and embodied I've come in strategizing and in planning. And those are valuable skills I have on my tool belt now. And also, my expression is very like Mercury and Pisces. It's very stream of consciousness. It's very flowing from the heart. It's very flowing from the moment. It's like everything, everywhere, all at once. And yes, sometimes that can feel a little chaotic. And hopefully I'm not judging it too much when it comes out. I would say most of the time I don't judge it when it comes out like that. But some of the time I do, because I care and I want people to be able to get something really valuable from what I share. So that there's a lot of reasons why, as I've just sort of described, that I was approaching it that way. But my fear that I really want to name and speak to, because doing this really, it discharges a lot of the power that our fears can have on us when we name them and we lovingly call them out. But I think one of my biggest fears has been appearing like I don't know what I'm talking about. Because imposter syndrome is real. There are people who have been super successful that we all know of, and they've achieved incredible things, right, in their line of work and all of that, who still experience imposter syndrome. And I think it's just human nature to feel this way. But for me, it's been this fear of, I don't want to come across like I don't know what I'm talking about. I don't want people to think I'm a hot mess express all over the place. But the truth of the matter is, we're all winging it on some level. We're all figuring it out as we go. We're all always doing the best we can in any given moment. And the most important thing is that you just keep showing up and you keep loving yourself through the process. So this is me doing that. And so moving forward from here, the episodes are really going to be more stream of consciousness. Of course, I'm going to have notes, but I'm not going to be reading from a script anymore. I also was overcommitting. I was weekly videos, at least 3 per month. It's I'm going to share in another video, and maybe I'll come back and I'll link it up here when I do record it. But I'm in the midst of a massive career change as well right now. And there's a lot I have to share about that. But I'm coming out of it ended up being more than a 6-month sabbatical, because just, I'm still looking for work. At the time of recording this in early July 2026, the 6 month sabbatical was intentional, living on savings to recover from like the intense burnout from a previous, the last few years of my life when I was freelancing. My workload was just like off the charts, and I needed to recover from that. But in that time, I also like woke up and realized a lot of things that I just didn't have the space or the capacity to really look at before. And then now I did. And so I'm in this big life transition with that. I mean, in every area of my life, I feel like a broken record talking about that a lot, but it's so true. And it really is the reason why I've, not recorded this fourth episode for is not everything I've just shared, but also I just haven't had the time or the mental, emotional bandwidth to even like focus on something like that and like putting together something like that. But also I've been worrying that like people are going to think that I'm a flake for like not following through on that. So I changed it from weekly episodes, at least 3 per month, to at least 2 episodes per month. And then the whole month of July went by. I didn't share anything for the course, the How to Know Yourself by Heart course. And I'm like, people are going to not take me seriously. They're going to think I'm not following through on yet another thing that I'm like promoting out there. And, that when we start to believe those kinds of thoughts about ourselves, that can feel really debilitating too. Because, before the online space was what it is, I think it was easier to like not care what people thought because the whole world wasn't looking before, right? And now it's like the whole world can like see your every move and like is watching and like judging and like, you know what I mean? Like all these things. And that can feel really heavy. And even though it's never like as intense as you make it out to be in your mind, the mental turmoil can be so real. If you know, you know. So, and this is something we all experience, whether we're like trying to be visible in the online space or not. So, all this to say, I'm going to give myself some grace. Episode 4 is going to come out when it's going to come out. It's going to be very different than the first 3 episodes, but I'm going to be finding my footing with it, and I'm going to really trust myself in the process of that and love myself through that process. And I think I kind of want to take a look at my notes really quick, actually. Oh yeah, this was the other thing that I wanted to talk about. So, Know Yourself by Heart is about understanding yourself and like being so intimately acquainted with yourself that you have the ability to discern what is and isn't right for you, and like trust in that and act accordingly based on what you truly know and can recognize within yourself is and isn't aligned. And I feel like I would be doing you all a disservice if I didn't honor like what was coming up in my own understanding and gut sense and intuitive sense of how I've been approaching these videos, which is that it's been very like heady and mental and intellectual and like presenting all of this, rooted in the science behind it all. And now, to be clear, I'm very interested in the science behind psychology, our behaviors, why we do the things that we do, like like this, the biology and the neuroscience behind like how we perceive life and the experiences of our life, and how that creates the reality that we live in. Like, I'm very interested in learning about all of that. Is teaching on that, at least right now, like the most aligned expression of my transmission? I really don't feel that it is. And that's also like another way that I've been, I think, trying to prove that I belong in this space, teaching on this and sharing about this, is to really like ground everything that I'm sharing about in science. And now I'm not poo-pooing on any of that. Like it's very important. And like I said, it serves me greatly in my life. And I love to share about it when it feels aligned and it feels like it can really ground something for someone. But mostly, I know for me, I really resonate with people when they're speaking and they're just like channeling truth from their knowing. I don't need them to prove it with facts or science or anything. I can feel in my system like a resonance if it's truth. And if it's something that's truth for me that I need in that moment, like I can feel that and I can receive that information in that way. I don't need anyone to prove it with facts or science or reasoning, right? And so like that is something that I appreciate in a lot of the content that I consume. I don't like to actually word it that way. The content that I most resonate with. That's how people are speaking a lot of the time. And yes, they bring in science, and yes, they bring in, facts and research and this and that from time to time, but it's not like it's not just like one big proving session. Like this is this and this is why. And, I get why that's important. But again, I've always been very intuitive. I've always spoke from like my deepest inner knowing. And if you can vibe with that, and if you can feel that, if you can feel a resonance in your system with that, then great. And if not, that's okay too. Then I'm not for you. Then what I'm sharing isn't meant for you, and that's okay. I'm not offended, and you shouldn't care either. Because there's plenty of people out there who are sharing like that. And we just go out and explore, and we find who resonates with us, and we hang out with them for a while until that feels complete, if ever it feels complete at some point. And then if not, you move on with your life. So yeah, I think that was also a really important realization for me as well, to just really be honest with myself about how I was trying to prove my worthiness and prove like that I was intelligent and capable and worthy of being heard and worthy of being paid attention to and like seen as like an authority figure, when the whole purpose behind this course in the first place was inspired by a quote that I wrote years ago when I first started Know Yourself by Heart, which is and I might have to read it. is long. Creating a better life for yourself isn't some glamorous, overwhelmingly complicated undertaking. It's a series of bite-sized adjustments made in the mundane micro moments of each day. One minor attitude adjustment here, one honest act of self-accountability there, courageously leaning into the discomfort this time instead of pushing it away, and more gentleness towards yourself in the moments when it feels as if you've backstepped. This is the path of self-mastery. And so this whole course was based off of that quote that I wrote. And originally it was going to be like, I was going to call the series 5 Minutes to Self-Mastery. And it was just going to be a quick like transmission on a topic, just free flowing from the heart, whatever wanted to come through and be transmitted in that moment. And then I was going to close it with like a sound activation to like ground it, because that's also part of like a big part of my transmission is using my voice and channeling song and sound to like activate remembrance and also purify is not the right word. Allow like an alchemization to happen in someone's cells that they're ready for at that time through them receiving the sound that I bring through. So that was going to be the end of each episode. Easy, like to the point where you could just get these quick hits of like inspiration regularly. But then I like turned it into this big, overly complicated thing, which is something that I do. I do believe that I do that because I feel like I need to prove myself that, and it's all stems from my childhood of feeling like stupid and not smart enough and like I don't belong and like I have to give people a reason to want to like stick around and make them like believe in me. But I'm just so tired of like, just perpetuating that narrative and like feeding and continuing that narrative with myself and how I'm like approaching this work. And so this is like my first real step towards, naming that, acknowledging that, and making different, like taking a different approach moving forward. So Let's see. Is there anything else I want to make sure that I cover in this? I think I covered everything from my notes that I wanted to say, but I kind of just want to take a minute to like feel into my heart and see like if there's anything else that really that I want to close this with. Yeah, the message that keeps coming through so strong today is stop trying to be someone else. Like, you are perfect exactly the way that you are. I'm getting emotional. We all have a hero's journey that we are like traversing in our life. Filled with wounding and trials and tribulations and achievements, but it's a spiral, right? It's not linear. Like, there's always new layers and dimensions of understanding yourself more deeply and working through things that usually started really far back, that still live within us and are influencing the way that we behave and like the decisions that we make, and particularly how we may hold ourselves back from doing the things we really want to do, which will bring us so much joy and like a deep sense of fulfillment. Which for me, it's like this. It's like sharing my heart. It's expressing myself. It's sharing what I've grown through in my life in a way that can serve others in their own lives. That's really all I ever want to do. And I get a lot from that. I know others get a lot from it as well. And so the less restrictions and like barriers to entry that you can put on those things for yourself and just let yourself be messy. I feel like now is like the best time to be doing this, because I just see people everywhere doing this. They're like setting themselves free through self-expression, through honest, organic self-expression, because people are so tired of all like the overly curated, like everything that's being put out there. People just want real, raw honesty. They want to like understand and like see, they want to be able to find themselves in your story. And that's always my prayer, that like with anything that I share, that people can recognize themselves and see their reflection in me, and gain deeper clarity and understanding about themselves and their path, and and like perspective shifts that help them on their path. So I hope that this has served you in some way. If it has, please introduce yourself in the comments. Feel free to ask me any questions down there as well, if you have any. I love tuning into your energy. I love, just like feeling into who you are, what your question is, and like responding from my heart. Like, that brings me so much joy. So please do reach out there in the comments, and I'll see you in the next one. Okay, take care.